Right, welcome along to another edition of ShrimpNet, the Shrimps Trust podcast. Joining Laurel and Hardy this week, we have our all-round boardroom action man and also our mole, keeping us with all the updatings of what's going on in the Mazuma. We have Charlie Appleyard. Charlie, welcome along.
Evening, guys.
And in keeping with our recent format, we've got two other guests on this evening. We have our recruitment scout, who we all appreciate has been very, very busy recently, to great effect, I might add. And Greg Strom, welcome back, Greg.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
And also we have one of, obviously Greg's been busy, and one of his recruits, who made a very, very positive impression on his full debut. It's a warm Shrimps welcome to our newest midfield maestro, Dan Crowley. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, where do we start, Joel? As usual, with Bristol Rovers. Bristol Rovers, they've got a really good squad. The defence isn't great, but they really are an attacking threat. They've got some really, really good forwards. And we spoke about this last week, saying the defence prospectively lets in more goals than we do, but they always look like they're going to score. And lo and behold, look what happened.
Yeah, they got there in the end, didn't they? But not before we got on 5 goals ahead. So it was kind of immaterial in the end. But yeah, like you say, I think they did. I think throughout the game they had a bit about them attacking wise, but I think up until we got 3-0 up and kind of maybe the game state kind of changed a little bit, then I don't think they really had too many good chances apart from that Harry Anderson header in the first half. But yeah, it was a really good performance from us, wasn't it, from the whole team? I think we'll talk about this more in a minute, but obviously Dan here, he's had an amazing impact. I've got some numbers actually from Tom Collins from Shrimps Online. 95% pass completion rate, 1 misplaced pass out of 24, 3 key passes, 2 of them were assists. You know, it's quite.
It's not good enough, Dan. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
What happened with the one that you give away?
I know. There was the funny thing. I think that was in like the first 5 minutes of the game as well. So
Pass.
that was the thing. It was the first pass, but then after that, absolutely perfect. So yeah, it was an amazing debut. I think another player. I think we should probably speak about, and that of course it must be Love. And yeah, he was really good. He had a really great game. I think he's not had the easiest season, but I think over the last couple of months or so, he's played pretty well, to be honest. And I thought that on Saturday he created a lot from down that right, made some really good interceptions, took his goal really, really nicely, and that seemed to just give him a good leg up. And later in the half, he's putting the nutmegs on Scott Sinclair. So, you know, it's amazing what.
If I was Donald, I'd retire now.
It was quite a performance that. So really nice to see him kick on there, and I think it was interesting because the defense had moved around a little bit as well. So obviously we had Simeo coming in, and he was on the right, that centre back, and I think that did help down that flank a bit as well. And we looked quite nicely balanced because obviously we had Farron Rawson going central, and he did a really good job of marking their striker Colburn, who was. He was a big player, tough to handle.
He's a big unit, isn't he?
Yeah, and I thought Rawson did really well defending him and then kind of just dominating the penalty area, really. And then Simeo, who's somebody who's a really big guy as well, can hack it physically, but also he's pretty mobile. He's good on the ball, so covering that space out wide to let Love go forward. I thought that worked really nicely. And then obviously, I think shout out for a tactical change that Derek made from the previous 2 games, obviously putting Liam Gibson at left wing back. We've had Adam Mayer at left wing back last few games.
Hey, I love Adam Mayer, but I like Danny Mayer as well.
I won't mind Danny Mayer either, to be fair. But obviously he's given us a lot of width and attack going forward. But I think it was definitely the right goal from Derek, and it was almost kind of like a lopsided back 5 with Gibbo pushing quite far back and Love pushing a bit more on, because the threat that they had from Scott Sinclair, who, despite the penalty miss, I thought had quite a good game and offered a threat. And then they had their right centre back or right back up, that Hull pushing forward quite a lot. So it worked really nicely. I thought just some of the play we put together. I mean, it's one hell of a midfield. We've got Stockton was well on it, really impressive. Mellon, considering that's his first start. at professional level in the men's game. So, just so much to be positive about.
Yeah, there is, and looking at your debut, Dan. I just want to talk about the Bristol Rovers game, obviously, but your stats are not going to get much better at the moment, are they? One start, 1 goal, 2 assists, and Mickey Mellon hit the post off another one. So I'm like, it's been it was a bit. Was that a dream debut for you, Dan?
Yeah, couldn't have gone any better, really. Just need to keep going now, live up to it. That's the hard part. But no, it's always best to get the first goal out of the way, and then you're more confident going into the next game. The hardest one is always the first one. So I'm excited to first goal with the club, and then obviously 2 assists, great. But I feel really good. I feel really confident, feel fit, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm just looking forward to the next game now.
Well, as debuts go, Charlie, that was a pretty auspicious one, but a fantastic game overall. You must have been chuffed to bits in the boardroom.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It's a shame about the misplaced pass, though. Try and get 100% next week, Dan. Yeah.
I'm taskmasters on here.
I did. First, my recent predictions of us getting 18 in the next 24 points. We've now got 12 out of 18. So if we get the next 2 wins, my prediction will be correct. I knew Ipswich wouldn't go well, so I'll let them have that one. But it was a great game to watch. Great to see everyone trying. The crowd are there. And there's a really good vlog on Bristol Rovers guy. It was quite funny. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I watched that. It was very complimentary.
Generally great all round, and kudos to Greg and all the crew for doing a great job.
Yeah, and it was refreshing. The Bristol Rovers fans were they were in fairly good humour, despite the fact that obviously they got a bit of a drubbing. And I spoke to a couple.
They couldn't believe, could they?
Yeah, they were, and they made a lot of noise, etc., etc. Yes, they were disappointed, but a couple of them were saying it's the story of their season. When they're bad, they're really bad, but when they're good, they're good. So
I was surprised though, because they've got Belshaw, the goalie from Harrogate, who's done a really, really great job for them all season last season. He's kept them up basically. He helped them get promoted, didn't he? Yeah. And they did an amazing job. They brought a new guy in, and Dan blitzed him.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I'll come back to you, Dan. Now, when you hit that, did you put backspin on it or something? Because it seemed to sort of rear up in front of him, didn't it, Dan?
I think it was just a dodgy bobble.
At least you're honest. But he got his hands to it, but he sort of spooned it a bit, didn't it, as if he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, they all count.
Enough. Yeah, I'm not arguing. I'm definitely not arguing. Yeah, exactly. Hit it with venom. But so we need to get hold of Rob, the groundsman, and tell him to put the bobbles just in the same places every week. Then, Dan, is that right?
Yeah, and put the covers on the pitch next time when it's frozen.
Yeah. Excuse me. So a great all-round performance, and from your point of view, Dan. Were you surprised at the ease of which you settled in and how you sort of orchestrated the game? Because everybody, basically, the way it looked from the sidelines was that they just basically, you wanted the ball, so they gave it to you, you did your stuff, and everybody was like, oh, great, yeah, okay.
No, to be honest, I felt it in training, like the first couple of weeks. Like the lads wanted to give me the ball, they could see what I can do. And see how I can help the team, and I think that's the sign of a good team, playing to each other's strengths. They can see I want the ball, and I'm decent in tight areas, and so no, it's been really good. It's been really easy. I've had a lot of clubs, only being 25, so I'm used to settling in places now. But it's just a good set of lads, so it makes life easier for me.
Well, that's good to hear. So moving on to Saturday, a big game, because obviously Derby County in this division, there's going to be probably 20,000 from Derby. But Charlie, we've sold how many tickets we sold today? I
didn't see today, so we were over 600 yesterday. I don't know how good we got to today, but amazing. Well, everyone's going to want to go, aren't they?
Yeah, I thought we were up to 700, so that's pretty good following, isn't it? But
brilliant.
Looking back at the home game, Joel, we gave a pretty good account of ourselves, particularly Connor Ripley.
Yeah, and probably actually quickly worth mentioning Connor making yet another penalty save on Saturday, which I thought was it was clever, but he did. I think Derek pointed out the fact that he gave him one half of the goal, moved towards that half, and then moved back again, and then dived back the other way. That was quite fun. But yeah, obviously Connor's had two really, really good penalty saves against Derby in the home game. But I thought we competed so well against him. It was a funny game because it was one where I looked at the game as a whole and how we played and how we competed. I thought, you know what, we could have nicked that, and I was almost a little bit disappointed. But then I did think, you know what, actually, we did concede 2 penalties and kind of saved both of them. So actually, maybe I should just be happy with the point in that one. But we performed really, really well. They've got so many good players, Derby, haven't they? You know, I think McGoldrick, I think he's 50-50, but they've got Barkhausen, Mendes Lang, Lewis Dobbin. I think he was the standout for me, actually.
Horahan.
Yeah, Horahan as well. Yeah, I think he was missing last time, but he's back now. So yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. And they're on a hell of a run at the moment. Obviously, they've lost to West Ham in the cup, but you know, fair enough. They're in the Premier League, West Ham. So yeah, it'll be really tough, but we're in a good run of form. It's not coming off a 2.5 week break like the Ipswich game, so I think, you know, hopefully we've got a bit more of a chance.
Yeah, I hope so. And I'll come to Greg now, because obviously you've got a wealth of experience, Greg. If you can't be up for the games like Derby, it's a pretty poor do, isn't it, really?
Yeah, to be fair, I think like Dan just said before, I think as a footballer anyway, but the group of lads that we've got in there, I think they're up for every game. You know, whether it's at home, whether it's Derby, wherever it is. But certainly it's one that will get the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. You know, when you're in the tunnel and you hear the noise, it certainly brings out the extra percentage in you. You know, because I think we've got good characters in there as well. Because when you do go to places like Derby, you do need to look around you and know that you can rely on your mate and know that you've got good characters around you. And I do think we're blessed with that at this moment in time. The lads trust each other, and when you're going on a big stage like that, you're going to need each other at some point.
And I think it's a point well made in the fact that they probably will have probably about 20,000 home fans there. But obviously, the night match at Ipswich, when obviously we were off a 2-week break, the 102 fans made the trip, which is absolutely fantastic. But slightly different at Derby if we're taking over 700, because that can have an impact, can't it?
Yeah, of course it can, and I think. Speaking to some of the players, I think the support have been brilliant this season. You know, they really, really have. Certainly at home, you know, the noise that they've made. I've not been fortunate enough to be there. I've only been to the Derby game. I'm obviously somewhere else each week when we're playing. But the game that I was at against Derby at home, our fans were superb. You know, they were really, really good. Obviously, the lads need to keep giving them something to cheer for. But pretty confident that they will do that as well.
So the only game you've been at is Derby. Last time you were on, I said, have you had a pie yet? You said, no, but I will have one. Did you have a pie at the Derby game?
Didn't get one.
Oh, no. This is what's going on?
I blame Charlie. Because Charlie promised me he'd have me one, and then he stood me up on the day he didn't turn up. So
I did make bloody rail strike. I've had so many bloody games with the rail strikes, unbelievable. But Peterborough on the 19th.
Well, I'm hoping I'm going to go in the next couple of weeks. Now the window's shut.
That's my next game, mate. I'll even get you some gravy and I'll get you some mushy peas.
Right, I'm there. Let's do it.
Mike, I know you're a northern boy, Greg, because we had this last time. So, like, I know it's a standard is a meat and potato or a steak and ale, but I'm recommending the chicken ham and leek.
Yeah.
Right, with gravy.
Yeah, it works.
Not sure it works. Meat and potato and some gravy. Dan's looking at us like we've got two heads at the minute, isn't he? talking pies and gravy.
I know, yeah. Sorry, Dan. Now, you were born. You see, you're on the cusp, Dan, because you were born in Coventry, so you're sort of Midlands without. So you're not southern, but you're not northern, are you? Really?
You're in the middle.
Yeah. So do they not eat pies in Coventry?
Yeah, I like a good pie, steak and kidney.
Oh, good lad. Good lad.
Well, that's why you've signed for us then, because we make all our own pies and they're award winners. There you go. Yeah, there you are, Charlie. That's his goal bonus. Give him pies.
That's why I actually say to a lot of directors who come to Mazuma, showing the trophy cabinet, and there actually are 14 trophies in the trophy cabinet, and 9 of them for the pies. It's not even a joke. The Charlton owner last scene was like, "Who the hell is this guy talking to me about pies?" And his wife I said, "You've got to have a pie." His wife got a pie, and she took the top off and got a knife and fork and ate the filling and put the top back on and put it back on the table. I was like, "We can't be friends."
That's a great story. So coming to Dan now. Obviously, you came on at half time at Ipswich. Hopefully, you'll start against Derby. You're getting used to this big game nonsense, aren't you?
Yeah. To be fair, I've played enough of them in my career.
Exactly.
We played when I was in Holland. We played against Ajax in the final. They had Ziyech, De Jong, De Ligt, so all the big players. So yeah, I'm used to it now, and I enjoy it. It's when it's what you play for as a footballer, for those big games. You just got to try and rise to the occasion and not let your nerves get the better of you and the pressure, and just try and go and play your game.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be probably a little bit quicker and a little bit, how shall I say, a little bit more tense being at Pride Park than it was at home against Bristol Rovers. But fingers crossed. Like I said, your stats are that good at the moment that, to be absolutely truthful, the only way is down, isn't it? Really, because unless you get hat-trick and set 4 up.
I won't be speaking to you on Friday before the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a big motivational speaker, me.
He's going to make that one pass better and another assist, another goal.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. You see that? You see, Greg's got all the stats because he's watched you. So yeah, I'll bow to that. That's not a problem. So moving on, look, we'll have a bit of a chat with Dan now. Obviously, Dan. Some people saw this as a bit of a strange move, coming back from Holland and coming to the frozen north. So you and Greg explain how this happened, can you?
So I'm married and I've got a son who's 2.5, and it wasn't going too great in Holland. We got relegated last season from the Eredivisie, and the second league it's just not great. So I wasn't really enjoying my football. My missus wasn't enjoying it over there. She's missing home. So it just felt right just to get back to England. She's pregnant again, so we're expecting another baby.
Congrats.
Thank you. Like I said, it just felt right. And obviously I spoke to my agent and just, told him I want to get back. So he's done what he needed to do. And Greg came along, Morecambe. And it was good because Greg was really keen. And that's what you want from a player. You want that, belief. You want, a lot of the times you speak to clubs and, they're invested, they've got a few options, or you don't really feel like they're number one. But with Morecambe, I just felt like, they really want me. I'd seen a couple of games, a couple of highlights, seen it's a good team. They probably shouldn't be where they are. So I just seen a lot of potential, and it just felt good for me and my family, and for Morecambe as well. So it was a no-brainer, really.
So Greg, when you got wind of this, were you rubbing your hands together with glee, thinking it will never happen, or it might happen, or what?
Yeah, well, like Dan said, I spoke with Kev, who's Dan's agent, when we knew what positions we were looking for to recruit for January. We had a good conversation about Dan. He told me he was available. At first, I didn't think there'd be a possibility that we would get him. Kev gave me permission to speak with Dan. We had a couple of really good conversations. I watched back his last few games, just confirmed that obviously he's fit and he's still all well, and there's no problems at all. Dan did the same on us, did his little bit of due diligence on us as well. He watched us play, so that he knew that I wasn't a liar and saying, listen, don't look at the table. We've got really good players here who, if you come in, you can help them. And like I said, there was a lot of commitment from Dan's side. Hats off to him. He was brilliant. Anything asked of him. I mean, I think he drove in the end, didn't you, Dan? You drove over.
Yeah, we drove back from Holland on a Saturday, and still not signed. We packed everything up from the house and just drove back. So I didn't even sign then. So you know what football's like. Anything can happen from Saturday until Monday until you sign a dotted line. But it just felt right. And speaking to Greg and just, that belief from the gaffer and Greg, just we wanted to do it.
I think as soon as sorry, Bossy. I think as soon as a player of Dan's quality, I mean, I've seen Dan for years play. Never thought we could actually get him, but as soon as a player of Dan's quality comes available, one, you want to be in the conversation if possible and put your hat in the ring. But when you think you've got a chance, it all of a sudden becomes exciting. And like I said, there was a heck of a commitment from Dan to come over, and hats off to him. It was really, really impressive, and I was just really pleased that we could get him in the building. And I know he's only here for a short time at the minute, but it's a platform.
3.5 years. It's not a short time.
and if we're the platform, listen, it's about give and take in everything. In every deal that you do is about give and take. Hopefully we can give Dan the platform. We get his services. He can entertain the fans, help us stay in the league, and everyone's a winner.
It's really strange you should say that, Greg, because there was a complete, virtually a meltdown on social media after Dan's performance on Saturday, and like literally dozens and dozens of people saying sign him up, sign him up, sign him up. And straight away, my take on it was, look, Dan's come back, as he's just said, he's come back from a foreign country, probably wants to settle somewhere. He needs to put himself in the shop window and do his best, help keep us up. And if he does, if a higher team can pay him more money and offer him a better contract, then good luck to him, because he's done us a favour by playing for us and keeping us up, and he's also put himself in the shop window. And that's exactly what I posted. And lots of people said, yeah, that probably will be what happens. And I said, well, you've got to realise we're still, I know Charlie won't like me saying it, but we're not Little Morecambe anymore because we're in League One. But we are still Morecambe, and we've still got a budget that we've got to stick to. And our players, while we've done brilliant jobs over the years, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, Greg, where we've signed people who nobody's heard of, but 2 years later they've gone on to better things, and that's our role in the Football League, isn't it?
Yeah, that's football in general. Every club in wherever you are, there's always someone who's looking at your players and always, enjoying watching the players and want them to play for them. Our job is to make our place an enjoyable place to be. Not just for Dan, but all the other players as well. We make the place as good and vibrant and as exciting and good place for them all to enjoy coming into work. Add the results to it, which we are at this moment in time, so that it all becomes a little bit harder for these boys to leave. Yes, someone may be able to offer them a little bit more finance, but if we can create an environment that these good, talented players can come and thrive, let's hope we can keep them.
And I think for me, like, money's not everything. Although I do have a family to kind of look after, but there's nothing better than playing your football and enjoying it and playing week in, week out. And for me right now, I'm happy to be at Morecambe. I'm really happy to be. It's a good place to be. Obviously we're doing well. Ipswich, that game's done now. But before that, 3 wins, and now a great win on Saturday. I'm just happy. I'm not even thinking about, the summer. I just want to keep us in the league, keep playing well, keep scoring, and then you kind of just see where you are in the summer.
And that's good to hear, because obviously, like I said, we know our place, and obviously that sort of segues nicely into obviously you were when you were at Arsenal, you were tagged as the next Jack Wilshere, and that seemed to hang quite sort of heavily around your neck. Is that right?
It's a tricky one, really. The thing is, I kind of knew it. I thought that about myself, so I didn't really It might sound big-headed, but I was quite big-headed when I was younger. I did have so I kind of knew it. And so I just kind of embraced it. But I had a tough spell when I was younger, obviously getting bought by Arsenal and it not going, the way I wanted it to. But I'm a realist. Like, I am where I am. And I just focus on, I try not to look at the past. and just focus on today. But yeah, it was tough in ways. But I think when you're young, you're just a bit naive to it all. And obviously growing up a lot, I just try and take it day by day instead of worrying about the future and worried about what's happened in the past.
It's like I say, looking at you, I looked at your time at Birmingham, and I think you were longer than I don't know how many managers, and that must have been really tough as well, with like new guys coming in and changing patterns of play, players coming and going, and it was a time of flux, and that must have been difficult at your age as well.
Yeah, so Pep Clotet brought me in, and he got the sack like before the end of the season. And before he got the sack, I was playing pretty much every game. I was doing well. My stats weren't that great, like goal scorer. I need to score more goals. But I was playing and I was doing well. And then I took rank in the summer, and he just wasn't having me. So that just killed me a little bit. And then I went on loan to Hull. And because, Hull were doing so well, it was hard for the gaffer to drop, players that were scoring, playing every week. And then COVID happened. I don't mean to fast forward too fast, and I didn't have a club. So it's been a tough couple of years. But you learn, it's football. And before you know it, 3 years down the line, and you're 25, and you just take for granted what you've got. The time, because time, you just don't have time, and you just need to take, every game as it comes.
And I think looking again, you made that sort of. How did the Willem Twey sort of like going to Holland? How did that appear? Was that you just thinking, right, I'll have a fresh start? And obviously you were young, free and single, or were you attached at the time and thought, well, we'll try it all? How did it move? How did it happen?
The first time, because it was the first time. So I went on loan to Barnsley when I was like 18, and that didn't work out. And the season later, I went on loan to Oxford, and that didn't work out. So I didn't really have any other options in England. And my academy manager was Dutch. So he offered me a Dutch team in the area. And I thought, my style of play, they try and pass the ball. And that was my only real decent option. So I was, just young and just wanted to play football. And that was my best option at the time. And then I signed, that was only on loan. And then I left Arsenal and signed for Willem Twey in that summer and played 2 seasons there. And
that went pretty well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. The first season was tough. I had to go out on loan because I wasn't playing, and I needed to play. So I went out on loan in January and then came back the next season in the summer and played everything. Played every game, started every game apart from the final. They dropped. So I played every game, every cup game, and then I got dropped for the final.
So that was gutting, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. And my family must have spent thousands, on flights, hotel tickets. Yeah, it was hard to take at the time.
That was that was the Ajax game, was it? That?
Yeah.
How did that?
Did you get on the pitch? Did you get on the sub?
Yeah, but at that point, I didn't even want to come on. 15.
Mind you, with that Ajax team, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So looking at that, obviously your situation has changed, and obviously being married and having children, all of a sudden you've got other responsibilities. So I mean, I'm not joking when I say, it's from all the clubs that you've been at. I know you had some time at Cheltenham and Oxford, but here we are in the frozen north. Here we are in the frozen north, and fourth, or at the time we signed you, sort of third, fourth bottom of League One. Did you actually think, well, yeah, go on, I'll give this a go because, I like a challenge. You said it yourself there. You've had so many sort of like settled in at so many clubs now, and it's been okay, but it's not worked out for you. Did you think, right, come on, let's make this work?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm not getting any younger. I'm at a stage in my career at the age now where I need to kick on. I'm not a talent anymore. I need to start scoring goals, assist, playing every week. And I felt like this is the right place for me to do it. And yeah, I like a challenge, and it feels like football. When you're in Holland, it's very tiki taka, and the games are a bit boring, a bit slow. Like it's great football, but it's just a bit boring. And coming here and back to England and coming to Morecambe, it just feels like proper football. Like Saturday was a proper game of football, and it was just really enjoyable.
And long may that continue, I hope.
Yeah.
So before I hand you over to Joel, one question: how important to you is your faith?
Yeah, it's my everything. I said on Saturday, when in the interview, I can't do anything without God. It's just my everything. It's who I am. I was just a footballer, but now I'm a man of God, and that's bigger than everything for me. He's my rock. I didn't have any idea how much of an impact God would have on me, when I was starting to go on this journey. But he's everything. He's helped me through everything. He helps me through these tough times, and I believe that he's brought me to Morecambe for a reason, and a good reason. So I just follow him, and he guides me.
Well, in that case, then I might ask him if he could stay a bit longer. Then
You can ask.
Yeah. Hey, if you don't ask, you don't get, do you? Right, I'll hand you over to Joel now. We'll probably have some sort of some questions about tiki-taka for you. Have you, Joel?
Yeah, well, the inevitable starting point was always going to be what's the difference between the Netherlands and English football. But I think you've kind of touched on it there. So I guess the other angle would be, are there things that you learned from playing or kind of developed or kind of taken on board from playing over in Holland that players who played in England their whole careers might not have?
I think because in the Eredivisie, you play such big teams like Ajax, PSV, Feyenoord, AZ, the massive clubs, play Champions League, Europa League. So you have to learn to be effective in those games, because in different ways, instead of, I was kind of always a player when I was younger, if we played the big teams against like the Ajax and the PSV, that I'd get drowned out. I'd get suffocated just because I probably wasn't as strong. They had all the ball. I couldn't run as much. So I definitely learned how to be effective in those big games without, scoring or assisting. So I didn't want to be the one that the gaffer took off because, I was getting ran past, or, I just went off the ball. So I definitely learned that side of the game, which I think has really helped me.
So is that kind of like you say, it's when you're out of possession and putting in the yards and just making sure, people aren't running past your shoulder and everything like that? Yeah,
because although, I don't just want to be a good player with the ball. I want, managers to be able to rely on me without the ball as well. Because you can't defend with 9 men anymore. It just doesn't. You can't have one player missing. It just doesn't happen.
I guess obviously in Holland, though, it's somewhere that's obviously kind of got a reputation with your whole team defending, obviously going back to the 70s with football and everything. So coming to your move here, with those 45 minutes you got against Ipswich, was that it was a funny one, because it was kind of the second half before 4-0 down the way at Ipswich. It is kind of a bit of a dead rubber, but at the same time, is it almost quite a nice little opportunity to kind of just start finding a bit of a groove with your teammates?
Yeah, weirdly, yeah. It's hard to describe, really, because obviously you're disappointed with the result, but you have to be real about things. But no, I thought we were decent on the ball in the second half, and the first half as well. But I felt comfortable on the ball. I felt comfortable with the lads, and we still tried to play, and that was really encouraging. And I knew that wasn't a reflection of us as a team. We just had 2 weeks off without a game. You go to one of the best teams in the league, it's always going to be difficult. So there was still some positives in it, and just how in the dressing room, how the lads spoke and Rippers, the captain spoke, just it was really positive and really good. That doesn't define us. That doesn't make us, who we are as a team. We forget that and we put that behind us and we move on to Saturday. So no, you have to try and take positives from all games.
Yeah, and I think what we've kind of seen coming into that the Bristol game now is you're finding that kind of you're gelling with your teammates. And are you feeling that kind of with Stockton ahead of you and then Shaw and Weir behind you?
Yeah, definitely, because Shawsey and Jensen, really good footballers. They're still quite young, but really good on the ball, want to play football, they're hungry. So it was easy playing with them because, they look for me and I look for them. And, I was at Cheltenham last season. It was a good set of lads, but I definitely think this Morecambe team's got the better players. It's a good group, and obviously Cole, scores goals for fun on his day. So I think we've got something, that can be really good.
He scores goals for fun when you pass to him.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned with Sean Wiggins, like you say, that they're brilliant footballers, but a lot of the team's so young, and you've kind of come into the midfield as one of the older members of the team.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying that, having that experience and just trying to help the lads when I can, and just trying to have that kind of cool head in the midfield when we need it, to try and have a bit of calmness in the team, and I enjoy that side of the game. But no, we've got some great young players. They're going to have exciting futures. I think they're really good.
No, yeah, definitely, I agree, definitely. And kind of working under Derek now, something that kind of comes up a lot when we discuss his style of plays is when we're attacking, he seems to like to give attacking players like yourself quite a bit of freedom in possession to kind of express yourself. And is that something that you've kind of felt in I know your time at the club's only been brief so far, but is that something that you've kind of felt?
Yeah, definitely. And he said it on the weekend, football's not complicated. You defend your goal and you pass the ball and you run, and he just gives you that little bit of freedom just to kind of express yourself, and that trust that he's put the players on the pitch, we can do what he wants us to do, and that's just play football, pass the ball and try and create chances. And he's very straightforward, the gaffer, which I really like. And he doesn't try and complicate it too much, and I like it when managers are like that.
So yeah, it sounds like it's quite a good match then. I think with that formation we were playing as well, with you kind of in that kind of pocket in between midfield and attack, is that a kind of role that you kind of see yourself as best in?
I don't know, really. I don't know. Like, some games I play well, like in the 10. Some games I play well a little bit deeper, and then some, the gaffer put me just like inside left on the weekend, and it worked really well because I didn't actually start there. I started as a 10, and then he changed it after about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I went on the left, and then that's obviously when I scored the goal, and it was really good from there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think he mentioned that in his post-match interview, because was that partly to deal with their defender coming up the pitch a bit as well?
Probably, yeah, because they were having a little bit of joy that side, just to have another body there, but also, attacking wise, in that position, I'm really hard to pick up because I'm not quite close enough to the fullback, and the midfielder. No one really knows who to pick up, who to pick me up in that position. So I kind of I'm able to turn then and face them up. So it worked really well.
Yeah, and like you say, a couple of minutes later, you pick up the ball in that kind of zone, you get a bit of space to turn, drive, and get your shot off, and we're 1-0 up. So, just finally, I guess, have you ever had a better debut for a club?
Good question.
Not in a league game, but I did a similar thing for Birmingham in a friendly against Swindon. But not in a league game, so that
doesn't count. That doesn't count. That's a friendly.
It's definitely my best league debut for sure.
No, it was quite something. But yeah, cheers, Dan. Back over to you, Freeze.
Listen, Dan. The basic gist of it is that I stand in the home end, and basically went after about 3 or 4 minutes when you hit a couple of passes, people were like, "Who's he then?" And then after you scored your goal, I can't repeat what they were saying because it contained a lot of swear words. It was "who there?" because they couldn't believe it, and people were comparing you to some past legends that have gone on to become firm favourites. So I thought, like I said, I think you've got a lot to live up to, mate. But good luck.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm ready.
Freeze, it would be a bit weird if you sat in the away end.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not. No, yeah, but I could be I could be in the home seats, and I could be on the Berlin Wall, but I'm not. I'm in the home stand, and obviously Connor did his usual thing of turning round again, and it worked, didn't it? Because we're scoring goals for fun, not necessarily in that end, but going towards the home end. First half has worked a treat, but there you go. Right, I want to go back to Greg now, who, with all the ins and outs in January, has probably been, just as busy as everybody else in your position at every single. I mean, there seems to be so many clubs in our league who are doing so much business, Greg. Do you just meet up with these people at services and just swap players, or what?
If it was that easy, it'd be great. Yeah. No, it's a busy time. It's a small window, but I mean, you look at the squad from when I came in. To be fair, I mean, even in the summer window, we had 11 in and 10 out, so it was a big overhaul in the summer, And then obviously we've got to January, and we knew we needed to tweak things. We knew players for their own careers as much as anything, they need to move on and go and play somewhere, and so they could continue their careers. But we also knew that we needed to add quality to our group as well, which has resulted in, like I said, 4 coming in and 6 going out.
Yeah.
So the numbers game, we know it's been a bit of a battle, because we've had to sort of wave one out of the back door before we can welcome one in the front door. But it is what it is, and we get on with it. That's not a complaint. It is what it is. Whatever the restrictions are and whatever you've got to deal with, you've got to do the best you can. We're quite pleased at the moment that we feel we're in a much better position now than we were before the window opened, with the additions and the departures. And like Dan said earlier, I think what we've got at this moment in time, without getting too carried away with things, because Saturday was a great result, obviously. But I think when you put into a mix where you've got a lot of young, hungry, ambitious players who are undoubtedly talented as well, and you put them all into the mix together, along with the quality of Dan, Connor Ripley, Faz Rawson, Gibson, who were still all at a great age as well.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was down at training today, and you look at how competitive, how much quality is on show, that it's actually really quite exciting. Obviously, when you've got all of these young players, there are going to be times where you do like that little bit of experience, because everyone wants a perfect world where you've got the perfect player, but that's not where we are, and that's not the world we live in.
No.
But we're very happy with where we are at this moment in time.
And just coming to, you touched on it there, in the simple fact that we've had, obviously, Obika and McLaughlin, O'Connor, Usman, Dylan Connolly, all depart. Do you play any part in assisting them on the way? In other words, sort of like saying, right, okay, what can we do for you? Who's your agent? We've got this interest. Do we advertise? How does it work?
Yeah, there's a few ways you can do it. You can put a circular out. I don't think we did for these boys, to be fair. What we do, or what I try to do, is, because I'm speaking to people to try and get people in, I'm always speaking to managers, coaches, agents. So conversations are being had however many times every day. So you gain knowledge of which club is looking for what position and what sort of profiles they're looking for within that position as well. So all I do, or we do, is recommend, if any of our players match what another club is looking for, we speak with the agent, possibly speak with the club, and say, listen, this could be a good match. He's available. Do your work on him and come back to us if you've any interest. And like I said, thankfully, not just thankfully for us, thankfully for the boys, they all get to go and play football now, be wanted, be needed, and progress their careers, and obviously we needed to free the money up to do our little bit of business as well.
So, looking at the obviously looking at particularly Caleb Watts, Jensen Weir, Liam Shaw, and in this window, Danell and Michael Mellon. You're watching, you're keeping in touch with a lot of academies and a lot of under-23s, a lot of under-21s, a lot of under-18s. Like I said to you last time, your car must be knackered, but you're keeping your tabs on all these people, and all of a sudden, obviously, this is pertinent to obviously Kieran Phillips' unfortunate injury, and we were left with a squad hole, and you filled it really, really quickly. So how did that work? You know, how do you just keep a tab on all these things?
Just be busy, be as busy as possible. You know, my job's to be busy and to have answers to to problems. So if something, I mean, touch wood, it doesn't, but if anything happens within a window, or I need to know free agents, if it's out with a window, I need to know available players, and I need to have watched them as well, obviously. So yeah, it involves a lot of miles. It involves, you know, sometimes on a Monday I can get 2 games in, Tuesday I can get 2, Fridays you can usually get 2, and you get a game on a Saturday as well. So it's cover a lot of ground, but there's no easy way to do it. You've got to have the knowledge, and you've got to be able to put your neck on the line when push comes to shove and people say we need a centre forward in who's of the similar mould of Kieran Phillips. Yeah. And in my opinion, Michael was next cab on the block, as they would say. He was the next one ready. Funnily enough, I'd watched him on the Friday against Swansea, already knowing that we was probably going to look to take him, and he banged in a hat-trick in that game, which helped a little bit with the conversation with the manager after. So yeah, just trying to have answers before the question comes. And
presumably now we're in February, Derek and yourself are looking now at the summer. No, now we're looking at free agents. We've done good. Sounds a bit like I'm back myself, but we've worked hard, and we find ourselves in a decent position now. But it doesn't stop, you know, because there's a lot of people who got paid up on during the window, and as long as the contract was finished before the window shut, those players can still be signed. So yeah, we've got to scour the market. We've got to make a lot of calls. Got to meet agents, and there will be a couple of gems out there. Whether we can get them or not, I don't know. But we'll because obviously, as you said, we've had 6 out, 4 in, and Josh Osterfield came in sort of like very, very late, didn't he? But obviously, that does that leave us some space, some wiggle room, as it were. Yeah, it does. It gives us a little bit of wiggle room, and that's now straight from one job onto the next job of see if we can. I mean, we're not desperate. We don't, you know, we're not. We wouldn't just bring someone in. Sometimes bringing no one in is just as good as bringing in the wrong one in. You know, so you've got to be very careful that you don't just panic, certainly on deadline day or at times like this. So we'll be calculated, and we'll be sure if there is the right one there that we'll try and get someone in. Well, he's eating that pie, Charlie, as Greg.
Well, I was just going to say, right, you're on the motorway a lot, right?
Yeah.
You must be in all the service stations. We need to get you a supply of pies delivered to his house, so he can put one in the oven every morning before he sets off. When he's going down the M6, he can eat, when it's safe to do so, eat his pie.
You've seen the size of me lately, Charlie. I think that's the last thing. I think that's the last thing I need, a pie every day.
The low fat.
That's my mantra. But yeah, Freez. I mean, I think if I can just say a few things, you know, so 17 out and 14 in. That's 31 transfers, right? I think the best transfer this year we've had is the 32nd, which is actually bringing Greg on board. You know, I've seen praised a lot, but you know, and it's Dan there. You know, Dan is an extremely talented footballer. And he's joined the club because of Greg. Greg's in the background. I've really enjoyed working with him, and he's always available for a chat. And you know, he treats me well as a director, but also as a fan as well, and indulges me, which I quite enjoy. Hashtag announcements. But you know, he's been a great signing for this club, and Derek and him work together really well. And when we were going through some bad times a few months ago, and people were saying different things about Derek and Greg, and I was Derek and the sector, but I was thinking, how wrong can he be? And this is proving people right, like me, and the people who back this regime, but proving people wrong, people who don't. And some of the stuff on social media about the board of directors not backing Derek and all this sort of stuff about during the transfer window, it was just absolutely ridiculous. As if we love Cole, he's an amazing service to the club. As if the board are going to back a move to Burton Albion or exactly. to Accrington Stanley. I mean, come on. We have got stock in the bank. It's been a really, really good board of directors in the last since James and I came along, and before that, obviously. But I've really been involved before you myself. We've come so far, and as if we are going to, as if we were ever going to back and move to Accrington or Burton, our enemies, in a friendly way. Yeah.
Rivals.
Yeah.
Rivals is the word.
So how rivals? That's a bit. So that was one thing. Graham's just put a release on social media, chairman's statement, which you can have a look at, which informs about a couple of other things. But I just think that one thing Greg said is really important. Morecambe Football Club, solutions, not problems. Yeah. It's very difficult to run a football club in League One, let alone with the smallest budget. Even though we can, it's not the smallest budget. One in the bottom percentiles budgets, but we still managed to do 32 transfers in a year. Testament to the work there, and we need people like Greg who are like, he's never once said to me, this is too hard or it's too difficult, or we need more. Derek has always said, give me what you can and we will do what we can with it, and hopefully we'll kick on. Down we have been looking, but we've had so many games we could have won, we've drawn, and we've had games that we've lost and we could have drawn. We've been pretty unlucky, but we hope we can move on. I'd just like to say thank you to John, Shane, Oz, and Kieran and Dylan for their services. They're not bad players, right?
No,
they've all gone to good clubs. They've all done well, and they all helped us stay up last year. It's great. They've all been on the pod, and they've just been really great. So hopefully we can kick on now, and like Greg said, pick up some homeless, waste and stray footballers who need a club, and they can come and join the amazing movement that's Morecambe Football Club. And
an away win at Pride Park, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, it was probably that. We're going to win the next team.
Yeah, that'll do. So yet again, it's no news is probably no news on the EFL test for the owners and stuff like that. So there's nothing to talk about really there.
Well, Graham just released me on Tinterweb. If you have a look, that he made a statement. There is this Saab Capital are interested in going through the checks. It's still going on. We still can't do anything until the EFL continue their checks. But this gentleman, Saab, I've met him a couple of times. Nice guy. He's intent to try and progress, subject to checks. I'm sure that probably will go ahead, but we're still, Greg will know what it's like. It's still in the lap of the gods with the checks, and until that's completed,
nothing else can happen.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago tonight, it still happened. And I got ripped for it, but these things take time, and it's hopefully everyone can see. In the meantime, we were top in the home form league, third in the league, form league for the League One, and things are going well on the pitch. And thank you to everyone for such a hard work during uncertain times.
Yeah, it's Clash of the Titans on Saturday, because obviously Derby are up there in the form league as well.
Well, Paul Vaughan loves us, isn't he? Paul Vaughan would beat Rotherham. He was like, they play really good football. He's a big fan, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. You're right, and it's funny because we're quite a big fan of his. But there you go. Right, final thing. Anything from the Shrimps Trust, Joel?
Yeah, just a couple of little bits. Obviously, we've still got the quiz on the 18th after the Peterborough game. So that's still on. That's hopefully should be a really good one. We haven't done one for a while. I think it's the first one since we've come out of lockdown. So
Yeah,
as many
is.
people down for that, that'd be absolutely wonderful. Hopefully it should be another really good do, because we've done a couple. We've obviously had the Christmas stuff and the Halloween stuff before. So yeah, things have gone really successfully so far, and that'll be in I think it's JB's or the Right and Lord. It'll be at the ground after the game that day. And then we are planning some stuff on Good Friday. There's some things that are kind of coming together now for that, so that'll be on. And yeah, just keep an eye on social media for what's happening with that.
Well, that's been. There's nice that you've got something to promote. I know the food bank stuff went really, really well. So keep up the good work with that. That's all we've got time for now. So all I can do now is say thank you to our guests, to Charlie, to Dan for coming on and being so honest, and for Greg to coming on when he probably should be watching a game somewhere, I would think. But we'll let him off on a Thursday, Greg. Is that right?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll have a night off.
I bet you were relieved. He's like, I could go on the pod. I don't have to go anywhere.
I didn't have anything scheduled for tonight, so no, all good.
It's great to have you on again, Greg. And Dan, you need to come on again when you've reached half a dozen goals. So I'll give you 3 or 4 games. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
I like your confidence. I like it.
Which comes first, the goals or the 100% pass completion?
Oh yeah. You see, you're a hard taskmaster, you, Greg. So that's this has been episode 23 of ShrimpNet, the Shrimps Trust podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Join us again next week when we'll have yet more exclusives.